Greg, how did you find carnivore?
Yeah, so I discovered carnivore through a relative. So I heard it through my uncle Stephen, and obviously my reaction to it was exactly the same as everyone's. This is crazy. You can't just simply be living off meat and eggs. Everyone knows you need your fiber, your veg, your fruit, all that sort of stuff. Um, but then after hearing that, I never really thought about it again. But actually, soon after that, I developed a really serious skin condition. So I was covered about 80% of my whole body in this red, itchy rash. The only way I can describe it to anyone is just imagine having a million ants crawling all over you 24/7. That's what it felt like. Um, Prior to this rash developing, so that was 2 years ago, I've always had childhood eczema, so always just in the most common areas like arms, hands were really bad, back of the knees. So I've always suffered with that my whole life. But you just you just get used to it, and you just sort of well, you get told by the doctors this is just who you are. There's nothing you can do about it. Just use the creams, take the pills. That's all you can do.
Here's some
So
steroids.
yeah, I've been on them. I don't even want to think how many I've taken and what it's done to me long term, but I'll forget about that. So yeah, then this rash developed. That was 2 years ago. So I went to the doctors. What did they do? They just put me on the steroids again, really strong steroids. I think prednisolone they put me on, um, and I was taking that for weeks along with the creams, and sure enough, that sorted it out. But as soon as you stop it, it just returns, and then you're back to square one. And then I'm basically just bouncing back and forth between doctors. They're all just doing the same thing for me. No one's give me a straight answer. It's always just like this is how it is. There's no other option. You're basically never going to get rid of this. Um, so then eventually that was just seeing doctors through the NHS, which is the National Health Service back in the UK. Then I decided to go private and see a dermatologist. Uh, I found a really top end one of the highest rated ones in the country. People literally fly from all around the world just to see him. I went to see him, and just the same story. Just he just went, "Oh, yeah, you've got atopic dermatitis," I think he called it. Here's some pills, here's some creams. There you go, off you trot. And yeah, just the same story. It just never sorted it out. It never helped it at all. And that's obviously so. After that, I was a bit fed up because my last solution was immunosuppressants, and I did not want to go on them at all. Um, so then I just remembered about this carnivore diet that my uncles spoke about, and I've always been quite interested in sort of nutrition. I've always prior to carnivore, I've always eaten what you would call a healthy diet. So you've got your lean meats, your fruit and veg, your carbohydrates. I've never really been a big fan of junk food and all that sort of stuff. Um, Soda, whatever. I didn't really drink that. Um, so I just want to say that because you hear all these people slating carnivore and they're just saying, "Oh, you're getting rid of all the junk food of that." It's like, no, I didn't even have that before, so it's not that. So yeah, and then yeah, so I was pretty healthy. Well, I was following a healthy diet. Let's call it a healthy diet in the mainstream. We know it's not, but yeah. So then I went carnivore. Well, I started doing a bit of learning into carnivore. Just read a couple of books, started listening to podcasts about it, and it just sort of made sense. And I was like, "Oh, well, I've got nothing to lose. I'll give it a go." And sure enough, sort of 2 weeks after giving it a go, my rash just disappeared. It literally just it just gone. Um, So yeah, that was pretty amazing. But I never wanted to hold out too much hope, so I didn't want to sort of lead myself into a false sense of belief. And so I just thought, okay, you know, this might just be potluck, whatever. But it's not potluck because 11 months later, I'm still rash free, eczema free. So not only did it get rid of this rash that rash only developed 2 years ago, but it got rid of my lifelong eczema that I've had. That everyone just told me that's just the way you are. So all along, it's just been my diet. It's been affecting me.
That's quite a change
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I mean, this is the kind of thing like I mean, speaking just about the eczema, this is the kind of thing so many people suffer from. And
yeah,
like you've experienced, it's you go to doctors and they're just like, well, here's some cream. That's all we can
yeah,
do. No one sits down and says, okay, so what are you eating? What about this? What about this? It's just there's some cream. Okay. Go away until
yeah,
next week.
yeah. And the funny thing is, I actually that top dermatologist that I saw back in the UK, I emailed him and actually told him about the carnivore diet. And I said, why did we never talk about diet? And then he full on lied to me and he said, we did talk about diet. And I know 100% we didn't talk about diet because that was sort of like a focus I did want to talk about with him, but he never brought it up with me. And yeah, he said, oh, well, that's great that it worked for you, but unfortunately, most people can't stick to it. Or he just made up a load of nonsense really about it.
Yeah, I think if you were to put the option in front of people as a dermatologist, your eczema will disappear most likely if you were to eat this way, like
Yeah,
consistently. I think most people would be willing to give it a serious go because eczema
yeah,
is not, not something
no,
that people like living with.
no, no, it's horrendous. It affects you
Mm.
so bad. It affected my mental health. Um, throughout my whole life, really. So it's because I've always had it on my hands really badly. I'm a plumber, so I'm always working with my hands, and it was just horrendous. It was horrible to have on it. And also, I'll just always look at other people's hands and be like, why me? Like, how come these people have nice hands and I've got these scaly, dry things? But now, luckily, like I don't do that. I look at my hands and I often just look at my hands and I'm like, wow, I still can't believe it. I can't get over it because basically 27 years plus whatever, I've always just had eczema. So it's quite a change.
And it's it's nice to hear that you've discovered it early though, because
Yeah,
most people are it's once the pains and the this and the that start that then they start to discover carnivore. But potentially you're
yeah.
warding off a lot of those kind of old age things that start to happen as well.
Well, that's actually like I'm actually quite thankful that this in a way I'm thankful that the rash did happen because I would have always if it was just the eczema I'd have just lived with it and just tolerated it for my whole life probably. And then obviously I would have developed more and more issues because I'm not following the diet we should be following. Like you said, I would have it probably would have led me possibly to I don't know uh, all the metabolic diseases you can get. Um, so I am actually really thankful in a way that I did get this rash and that it led me down this rabbit hole
Mm,
into finding proper human diet.
yeah. So how have you settled into eating? Is it like 1 or 2 meals a day?
Um, yeah, I was having 2 meals a day, but because I'm also an ultra runner, which we'll talk about. Um, I found that just with my training and everything, two just wasn't quite cutting it. So I have bumped it up to three, but I'd more call it sort of 2 meals and then like maybe like a big snack, just a bit of meat or whatever. So honestly, most days I eat the same things. I start my day off with just mince and eggs, about 300 grams of mince, and then 4 or 5 eggs. And then as like a sort of lunch sort of snack, I'll always just have some type of meat. So maybe a bit of lamb, bit of beef brisket, anything along those lines that I just slow cook. and then just have it the following week. And then evenings, again, it's usually a ribeye and four eggs, or just some lamb chops and eggs, that sort of thing. Drink a lot of bone broth as well, and make a lot of sort of like bone collagen sort of stuff from the slow cooker.
Must, must be good as well now that you're eating this way to just, like, have that kind of calmness and not be thinking about food all the time.
Yeah, definitely. That's just, it's made life so much easier. I used to sort of just stress. I'm not a big fan of cooking, to be honest. It's not like it's not a passion of mine or anything. Um, so I'd always kind of just be a bit stressed out about, oh, what am I gonna meal prep this week? Just always thinking about different recipes. And yeah, this has made it a lot simpler in that way, and also in just what I buy. I bulk buy my meat, um, and then I just during the week I might go to the shops once just to buy some more eggs or butter or whatnot. So yeah, it's a really easy way of living. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you were, on relatively recently,
Yeah.
but since you were on last time, something has, you've participated in something. Could you talk a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, for sure. So since becoming carnivore, I also took up ultra running. I've always been um, very active, so always just playing football, tennis, I like rock climbing, that sort of thing. Um, but I got into running probably about a year and a half ago. Um, that was unfortunately when I had my issues, so at the time it made it a lot harder to get into it. Um, but once I sorted it all, I really took it up quite seriously. And then I just got into ultra running. So yeah, so last time I was on, I said to you that I was going to participate in a 100K, this 100K ultra, and but I was going to do it completely fasted. So I didn't eat 24 hours beforehand, and then I didn't eat before the race or during the race. I only ate after the race. So my total fast time was 39 hours in total, because it was 24 hours plus the 15 hours of racing. Um, so I made that claim to you last time I was on. I said, "Oh, I'm going to do this." So now I'm here telling you that yes, I did do it, and it's possible to do that, to run 100K after a 24-hour fast.
That's awesome, but how was it? What was the experience like doing that fasted?
Hmm. So I that obviously wasn't my first fasted run. I had been sort of just experimenting a bit with it before doing the 100K. I'd often What I'd usually do is just have my meal the night before and then wake up the next morning and go for my run. So I'd often be fasted, 13, 14 hours, which was absolutely fine. I wouldn't feel any different if I had just eaten before the run or not. Um, and then I started experimenting with a 24-hour fast. And then I did a 24-hour fast, and I did a 30K once, and then I actually ran a trail marathon um, the second time after a 24-hour fast. And I just feel absolutely fine. I don't feel any different to say if I'd eaten before the run or not. Um, so then I thought, so then I thought I'll try it for 100K, see how I feel. I was obviously quite nervous doing it because the furthest I'd run before that was 60 kilometers. So it was quite daunting to add on another 40 kilometers after that, knowing how I felt after 60. I was pretty tired. And then adding to that I hadn't eaten for a whole day before doing it. So I did go into it quite nervous, and I really did actually surprise myself in how I felt during the run. Um, During it, I felt absolutely fine. I just high energy. No, I didn't feel hunger at all. My mental clarity absolutely fine. Obviously, the further I got into the race, I did start, go dipping down. I'm not Superman, but yeah, I wasn't experiencing any crashes. Like I was seeing other people actually fall to the ground, and they were just dying. Well, not dying there, but they were just laying on the ground, looking a bit worse for wear because obviously they're just depleting their glycogen stores and weren't getting their sugar fix. But yeah, no, I didn't have any of that. It was just, yeah, it was really good. And I spoke to someone there, one of the just people sort of organizing one of the aid stations, and I was telling him what I was doing, and I was like, yeah, so I'm fasting for 24 hours, and he was like, wait, you're not still doing that now, are you? And I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm still doing it. I'm about 30 hours into my fast here or whatever. And he looked pretty concerned. He was like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely fine. I was like, if you want to go get a medic to check me out, do it. I'm all there. Um, and yeah, they were quite amazed at what I was doing. Um, so yeah, and then I spoke to a few other runners, and one lady was like, "Did I just hear you're fasting this whole race?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm eating in 30 odd hours or whatever." And yeah, they just couldn't believe it. They were just like, How are you doing this?"
So you did the whole 100K without hitting the wall? I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
as you
yeah,
say, your energy dipped, but you finished the whole thing
yeah,
without hitting the wall.
yeah.
Wow.
Without no hitting the wall. No, no. I've never since being carnivore. I've never experienced that. I know everyone talks about hitting the wall. Um, I've ran like I don't know how many sort of like marathons and plus now I've ran. It's probably 20 maybe. I've never experienced that like hitting the wall. Yeah, no, I just don't know what that is really, what it feels like.
Wow. I'm just like, so you're based in Melbourne, so
Yeah.
I where I grew up is basically 50 kilometers from the central business district in Melbourne, right?
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
just imagining driving to the CBD and driving home again and thinking, "Could I run this?" I don't think I could. Um, wow. So did you have, like, electrolytes or anything with you, or
Yeah, yeah. So I take electrolytes. I've got they're called salt sticks. So it's just sodium, potassium, and magnesium, I think it is. Yeah, so I just take maybe one every hour just to stop any cramps or fatigue. I didn't experience anything negative, so I guess they worked. I don't really know, but yeah, so just water and electrolytes during the run, I got through it.
it's, in some ways, it feels like discovering carnivore is like discovering this secret anabolic steroid or something because, like, you're
Yeah,
doing this fasted and, like, the general community around you that knows this kind of thing intimately is all like, "This is crazy. How can he be doing this? Is he a robot? Like, what's going on?"
yeah,
And yeah, it's just like it's like
yeah.
discovering a secret.
So yeah, so I do feel very fortunate that I train this way and that's how I live my life, that I'm not taking this overdose of carbs because all these other athletes are taking an incredible amount of carbs in. So I'm pretty sure sort of ultra runners look at getting in about 80 to 100 grams of um, carbs every hour. So during 100K, I mean, if you're a really good ultra runner, you might do it in 12 hours. So you're literally looking at putting about a kilo of sugar into your body during a very stressful event in the first place. Now, I don't think that's gonna lead to anything positive in the future. Like, yeah, you might get away with it for 5, 10 years, but you wait till all the problems start developing. I don't think it's going to be pretty, especially because I feel like this is quite ultra running. It's quite modern in a sense. It's gained a lot of popularity in the last few years. Um, Along with that, what's grown is also sort of the sports drink industry and also the sports gels industry. So if that's what you're consuming for training and all these events, you're basically part of an experiment because this is very modern to our species. Um, and I feel like in 40, 50 years time, we're going to look back at this and go, that was a bad idea. Um, so yeah, I'm glad I'm away from all that.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, you are the second person I've interviewed today who's just I guess that's because 'cause I'm holding 2 fingers up. You're the second you're the second person I've interviewed today who's just completed a marathon fasted, as
Oh,
another
okay.
carnivore, and
Yeah, yeah.
it just feels to me that the fact people can do this is actually some kind of evidence that actually we've been going down the wrong path the whole time. Because
Absolutely.
if you think of sugar and carbohydrate generally as inflammatory,
Mm,
right? And as you say, you're about to do something, a 100K marathon, which is going to, knock your body around quite a bit. And,
yeah,
you're constantly pouring inflammatory substances into your mouth to keep your glycogen levels up.
yeah.
It's like, this is probably not the best way to do it.
Well, the other thing to that as well is what are people eating afterwards? If you've done this sort of event, you're probably going to want to celebrate. And what do you usually celebrate with? You celebrate with, you know, junk food in a sense, or an alcohol. So on top of what you've just done to your body, during another important phase, you're just pouring more poison into your system, and yeah, that's not gonna heal you very well. It's not gonna recover.
So, given all this, um, are you kind of you're pretty much set now with carnivore?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've done, I've read a dozen books. I've listened to all the experts. You know, I really enjoy. I've sort of just started listening to Bart Kay, and if there's any man in the world you're going to listen to, I think it's him. I think he knows what he's talking about. He's extremely, extremely clever, and I just love watching him. Just um, the debates he has with all these people who don't believe in carnivore, let's say, and he just smashes them. He just you know he just they've got no feet to stand on. It's all just ideology what they're talking about, and all these um, studies that just don't work. You know.
Yeah, I often think of the people who don't like carnivore, like, just throwing names out there because he's kind of top of the list. Lane Norton, for example.
Oh,
People that don't like carnivore, it's a little bit like, the argument sketch on Monty Python. They
mm,
won't engage in any nuance at all. It's just like,
yeah,
someone like Bart Kay will say, "Carnivore works because of this, this, this," and Lane will just say, "No, it
yeah,
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
yeah.
No, it
And
doesn't."
all they say is just, well, look at this study. We have this study to prove it. You know, it's just ridiculous. They're just a joke. They've no idea really. And the thing is, I don't really get why they hate it so much because it's pretty evident from, so say like your channel, if it was just to look at 10 videos and listen to people what they have to say, it's pretty evident that this works. Um, so why is there so much hate coming from them? I'm a bit confused, but at the same time, I think it's probably just all sort of industry funded, and you
I
know,
I think industry is part of it, but I think
hmm
another part of it is somewhat ego related.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
when you've invested your whole life learning and getting
mm,
degrees and PhDs, talking about a particular, let's say, calories in, calories out. Let's say you did your
Yeah.
thesis on calories in, calories out or something, right? Your
Yeah.
whole life, you've studied this, and that's what your job is, and you're running a
Yeah.
business where you're advising people about this. You don't want some carnivore upstart coming on going, "No, you're doing it wrong, mate. You're doing it wrong."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But this is why I really like listening to Professor Tim Noakes as well, because he obviously he that was him at one point. He was all about high carb, and then he realized he got it wrong, and he admitted he got it wrong. Um, so yeah, that's what hopefully more people will do if they don't have such an ego problem. I've actually contacted Professor Tim Noakes through his foundation if he's interested in sort of what I've just achieved, and if he's willing to have me as like a guinea pig as a volunteer or anything, because I'd be more than happy to do that.
When your interview goes up, I'll have to remember to tag him when I share it out,
Oh yes,
so
please.
it's can
Yeah.
say that, yeah.
Oh,
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, but, I think also part of the problem is it takes a very, very, very strong person to do what Tim Noakes did. Like,
Yeah.
to go,
Yeah.
"I was wrong."
Well,
There's not many people can do that, you
yeah,
know?
it threatened his life. I'm sure. Prior to it all, he probably had a very well-paid job and whatever, and he put everything on the line to go, hang on, is this actually correct? And he's obviously going against the whole narrative. He was taken to court and everything, wasn't he, about it? And I'm sure it cost him a lot of money. And at one point, he probably looked at it and went, I could literally just drop this all and just carry on with high carb and whatever, pretend I don't know anything. But he didn't. He he stuck with it, and now it's had a huge impact on the world and for the better of mankind, let's say. So yeah, we just need more individuals like himself who aren't just greedy and just chasing paper.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so, is there, from what you've learned over time, whether it's getting started with carnivore or with your running,
Mm.
if someone was interested in, they're a runner, they wanna switch over to carnivore and all that kind of thing, is there anything you've learned over time that you would share as a kind of tip?
Um, I mean, if you really are going to delve into the carnivore lifestyle, I feel like you're only ever going to take this seriously if you have um, issues, like quite bad issues that you want to resolve. If it's just sort of minor issues and you're happy just taking medication for it, you're probably never really going to think about it because you don't want to give up everything else that we're not supposed to eat. Um, but if you are going to delve into the carnivore lifestyle, expect a adaptation period. So if you are into sports, you will probably um, feel a lot worse for the sort of month or two, maybe. Just depends how long it takes you to get adapted. Everyone's different. Personally, I did feel a huge dip in energy the first month. Um, but, it just grew and grew and grew. And now my energy is it's just stable. It's just constantly stable, but at a high level, like a lot higher level than before. Um, but yeah, if someone wants to get into carnivore, just go listen to all the experts out there, read the books. There's plenty of it online. Uh, yeah, I highly recommend it for uh, well, everyone, athletes. You don't just have to be an athlete, but in my case, I'm sort of just talking about athletes, people who take part in sport, because you're the ones who are doing all this high carb, all this carbo loading, taking all these gels, just sucking down all these sugary sports drinks. Think them lot as a whole. are going to suffer really badly in the future. Funny enough, I actually saw a video the other day. It was of one of the Kenyan runners. So obviously we all know the Kenyan runners are renowned um, runners in the marathon world. You know, they're winning everything. And it was a video of one of them. He was drinking a tea, and the chap filmed him was like, "Oh, um, can you explain to the camera what your secret is?" Um, and this Kenyan runner he was sort of in a boastful way. He says every day he puts 12 sugars, I think, in his tea. And he was sort of they were sort of like they were just making a big joke out of it. I think it was 12 sugars. That might be exaggerating, but I'm pretty sure it was a very high amount. And when I heard it, I was like, wow, that is just crazy. So that's just kind of um, their mental sort of attitude that they can just get away with doing that without any repercussions because they just think they're just going to burn the sugar off and it's not causing all other issues inside them at the time. But yeah, I just and there's lots of videos I see of sort of youngish runners, ultra runners online, and they show you what they eat before they run. And I remember seeing this one video. This guy was talking about how he ate just like a whole box of cereal and then some sort of pastries and energy drinks and all that. And they're just making a joke out of it. But this is what they actually do. So it's all supposed to be sort of humor, but it's serious. It's what they're doing. Um, and yeah, I just think it's all a bit crazy, and they'll find out the hard way that you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. And when you talk about the repercussions, I mean, often when you see like former Olympians who become commentators after they retire, they don't kind of maintain the physique and stuff,
No.
generally speaking, after they retire. They start putting on a lot of weight and they get kind of sick looking.
Oh yeah, God, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've noticed that a lot in footballers as well. So in English football, there's a so if you look at Wayne Rooney, for example, he's always been a bit sort of stockier, even when he was playing full time. But you look at him now, he's actually 10 years older than me. But you look at him now, and he could easily be in his late 40s, 50s. It's just sad to see that sort of thing, and that's more than likely um, uh, like diets played a part in that in the aging process. And yeah, it's just sad to see. But like you said, yeah, lot of sports stars once they retire, they sort of just balloon up.
Yeah, and it's good. It's really good to learn this before it's too late, because
Yeah,
it's like even for someone who's got nothing, like walking to the train is my sport. It's
yeah,
just nice to know that I'm not like it's nice to have in your mind that what you're putting in your body is not inflammatory anymore.
yeah,
And
yeah,
knowing that your past life, what did I do to myself? I'm not doing that anymore.
yeah. It's funny since diving into carnivore myself because I have really um, delved into nutrition. I really do want to know everything that I can know about it. And, everything. Well, when I used to eat just a standard diet, not once did I ever think, oh, this might not be good for me. Or, like, obviously, sort of with like sugar and that, you do think. But at the time, you're just like, oh, I'll do it this once. And then obviously a week later, you do it again and you just, oh, I'll do it this once. And then, 20 years later, you've done that for a week and you end up with issues. But now I've really delved into nutrition, um, I do think about. Well, I don't have to think about what I eat because I know what I eat is. It's all just serving me a purpose. It's nothing negative going into my body now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so Greg, if people want to reach out to you, do you have any way of getting in contact?
Yeah, I did just create an Instagram actually recently, so it's just zero carb runner.
Mhm.
So like yours actually, but runner at the end.
Right.
Um, And then I've got a YouTube as well. Zero Carb Runner 1, just the number 1 at the end. And I
Mm.
have actually uploaded my the 100K run as a video, so I'm just sort of documenting. Um, I'm just documenting how I did it, basically,
Oh, awesome.
just as proof.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, I'll link to your Instagram and your YouTube in the show notes. Greg, thanks for coming back on and letting us know about your experience. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me back on, Dave.